Today's hiwatt soundbite is all about the remix. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I posted a session on using samples within a remix. Now, the track that I was actually exposing at that time, I was just in the early stages of starting that remix. It's for my own band, Blackline. The song's called Layers. Well, this is a really fun remix, and there's a ton of stuff going on. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to just pull this track up, solo different tracks, isolate things, and kind of get into a bit of depth about what I did to actually create that effect. I'm going to put headphones on for obvious reasons. I want a nice clean signal on my mic. So grab a coffee and sit in on this session because this is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, the first thing I got coming up is this really cool vocal effect. Check this. So that gated effect we just heard is something I'll use very, very often. In fact, in almost every mix that I do, I create a trigger track, I call it, a key trigger track. My goal is to create a 16th note that is just running throughout the track at all times. I'll just throw up a click track in Pro Tools. It's a quarter note click. I just add an 8th note delay on that, and then another delay in series for a 16th note, and it just creates this awesome, throughout the whole track. Now, one habit that I've formed is just always assigning that trigger track to bus 40. That just means that anytime I'm working on a mix, I always know that I can pick up that trigger on bus 40 at any given time. Well, so now that we've gone through the kind of signal chain, let's have another quick listen to that track. Cool track. So let's move right on to something else. Well, last year, my band Blackline had the privilege of opening for Depeche Mode for the tail end of their European stadium tour. Now, that was an unbelievable experience. So for that tour we did, I created an intro for Layers that we ended up using for the live show. So here I am remixing Layers, and I'm thinking about alternative tracks and things that I could add to it. And I'm going, that intro that we did for the live show last year. So I imported it to the session and it worked so well. Check this thing out, just all by itself. I'm going to solo it. So that was a pretty thick track, but it worked really well for the intro to this mix. And here's a great example of where I'm just enhancing a drum sound in this track with addictive drums in this particular case with a really nice, crispy, snappy snare drum that really helps this loop out. Like, here's the loop by itself. So for this loop, I created an auxiliary send. I created an additional auxiliary bus so that I could put that send through a fader before it got to the reverb that I was sending it to. And then I just manually recorded automation into the send. Check this effect out, it's pretty cool. That snare thing is just not cutting it enough for me. I knew I wanted to add another snare, so I came up with this cool addictive drum snare that is just kicking. Check it. By itself. Yeah, that makes a really big difference if I throw in the kicks here. So that's pretty effective, that snare drum. Now here's a great way to pick up the energy level of a track. Well, I've got this like offbeat hi-hat playing along throughout the first part of the song, and then we kind of step it up a notch, and I just pulled that hi-hat down to a new track and put like a 16th note delay on it and some more kind of phase factor, and it ends up adding a really cool effect. Check it. So effective in dance music to just have an offbeat bass line. Most of the time, just playing one note is so effective. Just like way too much fun. Now, I'm not even sure exactly what delay I used for that because I tracked all this to a stereo track, but I just love that kind of effect where just raging sound comes in and then it just stops and all that's left is this like high pass filter echo. I love that stuff. Let's have a listen to that one more time because it's pretty cool. Oh yeah, just awesome juice. Same thing on this track. I've got a gate set up on it and I'm keying it off bus 40, that 16th trigger track that I've got going on. We should have a listen to that just so we understand what it sounds like. Perfect. So that's what I'm talking about. If you hit key listen on your gate, you can actually hear the signal that you've got sending to the key input, right? There it is, 16th note click track. Pretty boring. Really effective in the mix though, love it. Yeah, I'll often use like a 16th gated trigger effect, but I'll leave the range fully open so that there's actually no gating going on. And then at a certain point, I'll automate that range knob and bring it down so that the gating effect just sort of creeps in and it's really, really effective. Check it out in this track. This is cool kind of effect going on. Check out the range knob. You just sort of creep a little bit of it in with the range knob. That is super effective in a mix. So fun. What other mad things that I've got going on in this track? What about this vocal effect? Absolutely crazy. I decided to do a bit of a guitar solo vocal effect here. So always dig this kind of thing. Well, I hope you had as much fun as I did sitting in on this session, and by all means, just dig in, try a couple of these effects on your next remix. Well, thank you very much for sitting in on today's session, and if you feel this session has value, please consider subscribing to my channel, and by all means, go ahead and share this session with a friend or colleague.